The bread in your kitchen right now might be making you sick, and the companies selling it know exactly what they are putting inside. That loaf sitting on your counter contains ingredients that have been banned in other countries, chemicals linked to behavioral problems in children, and additives that research suggests may contribute to serious health conditions. Yet here in America, they are completely legal. Americans consume between 37 and 53 pounds of bread per person annually. It's in our sandwiches, our toast, our burgers, and on our dinner tables. We trust bread. We've eaten it our entire lives. But what if the bread you have been feeding your family is not what you think it is? In the next 20 minutes, I am going to reveal exactly which 8 bread brands you need to avoid and why. I will break down what is actually in them, explain what these ingredients may be doing to your body, and most importantly, show you what you should be buying instead. By the end of this, you will never look at the bread aisle the same way again. Number 8. Wonder Bread. I know what some of you are thinking. Wonder Bread has been an American institution since 1921. Your grandmother probably made sandwiches with it. It's as American as apple pie. And that's exactly why we need to talk about it. Pick up a loaf of Wonder Classic White and flip it over to read the ingredient list. You'll find enriched wheat flour, water, sugar, and then a parade of additives that would make a chemistry teacher pause. The bread contains calcium propionate, listed right there as a preservative. Calcium propionate does exactly what it's supposed to do. It prevents mold and extends shelf life. But here is what most people don't realize. A study published in the Journal of Pediatrics and Child Health found that when children consumed bread containing calcium propionate, more than half showed worsened behavior compared to when they ate bread without it. The researchers noted symptoms including irritability, restlessness, inattention, and sleep disturbance. The preservative was linked to these behavioral changes in sensitive children through a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Think about that for a moment. Your child's difficulty focusing at school, their sleep problems, their irritability. It could be connected to the bread you're putting in their lunchbox. Wonder Bread also contains something called DATEM, which stands for diacetyl tartaric acid esters of monoglycerides. This is a dough conditioner that helps the bread rise faster and maintain its texture. The FDA considers it generally recognized as safe, but it is one of many additives in a loaf that would traditionally be made with just flour, water, yeast, and salt. The ingredient list also includes ethoxylated mono and diglycerides, calcium stearoyl lactylate, and soy lecithin. Each of these serves a purpose in industrial bread production, but together they represent a significant departure from traditional bread making. Your digestive system evolved processing simple bread made over hours of fermentation. Modern industrial bread is produced in a fraction of that time using chemical assistance to achieve similar results. That bloated feeling you get after eating a sandwich? That is not necessarily the gluten. It could be your body struggling to process bread that was never given time to properly develop. Number 7. Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm has built its entire brand around the image of a quaint New England farmhouse. The packaging evokes nostalgia, tradition, and wholesome home baking. Their marketing suggests you are getting something closer to artisan quality. But when you examine what is actually in their farmhouse hearty white bread, the story changes. A single slice contains 230 milligrams of sodium. That is 10% of your recommended daily intake in just one slice. Make a sandwich, and you are at 20% before you have added a single thing between the bread. The American Heart Association recommends limiting sodium to 2,300 milligrams per day, yet most Americans already consume about 3,400 milligrams daily. Bread and rolls rank among the top contributors to this excess because we eat them so frequently. The sugar content is equally concerning. Sugar is listed as the third ingredient in Pepperidge Farm Hearty White, with 4 grams per slice. That is more sugar than you would find in many other bread brands. When sugar appears that high on an ingredient list, it means there is a substantial amount relative to other ingredients. And here is what really concerns me about Pepperidge Farm. They market themselves as a premium, higher quality option. Consumers pay more expecting better ingredients. Yet the nutritional profile and additive content is comparable to budget brands. You are essentially paying extra for marketing and packaging rather than meaningfully different ingredients. Their bread also contains calcium propionate and sorbic acid as preservatives, along with various emulsifiers and processing aids. These are standard industrial bread ingredients, not the simple recipes the farmhouse imagery suggests. Number 6. Nature's Own. Nature's Own positions itself as the healthy alternative. The name itself implies something natural, something better for you. Their packaging shows wheat fields and promises like no artificial preservatives, colors, or flavors. Sounds good, right? Let's look closer. Pick up a loaf of Nature's Own honey wheat and look at the dough conditioners list. You will find multiple industrial additives, including sodium stearoyl lactylate, monoglycerides, diglycerides, Daytem, and others used to speed production and extend shelf life. That is a significant number of processing aids for something marketed as natural. The presence of these dough conditioners is not unusual in commercial bread, but the disconnect between the natural branding and the actual ingredient list is significant. Many consumers buy Nature's Own specifically because they believe they are avoiding processed ingredients found in other breads. Nature's Own also contains ammonium sulfate, which serves as a yeast nutrient to speed up fermentation. This is Food and Drug Administration approved and commonly used, but it is another example of an industrial processing aid that would not be found in traditionally made bread. What frustrates me most about Nature's Own is the health halo effect. Studies show that when products are marketed as natural or healthy, consumers often assume they can eat more of them without consequence. People buying Nature's Own thinking they are making a healthier choice may actually be consuming similar amounts of processed ingredients as they would with obviously commercial brands. The company has reformulated some products to reduce ingredient counts, but many varieties still contain lengthy lists of additives. Number 5. Sara Lee. Sara Lee has been a household name for decades. Their slogan used to be, "Nobody doesn't like Sara Lee," and for many Americans, the brand evokes comfort and familiarity. But comfort and health are not always the same thing. Look at Sara Lee soft and smooth whole grain white bread. This product contains something that should concern every parent. The ingredient list includes azodicarbonamide. This chemical is used as a dough conditioner to make bread whiter and fluffier. It helps the dough become more elastic and easier to work with in industrial settings. Here is what makes azodicarbonamide controversial. It is banned as a food additive in Australia and the European Union. The United Kingdom's Health and Safety Executive has identified it as a respiratory sensitizer that may cause asthma. When azodicarbonamide breaks down during baking, it forms compounds including semicarbazide and urethane. Semicarbazide has been shown to cause tumors in female mice in laboratory studies. Urethane is classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as probably carcinogenic to humans. The FDA maintains that azodicarbonamide is safe at approved levels, and the amounts that form during baking are small. But the question remains, why use a chemical that other developed nations have banned when alternatives exist? Many American bread manufacturers have voluntarily removed azodicarbonamide from their products in recent years following consumer pressure. However, as of recent ingredient listings, some Sara Lee products still contain azodicarbonamide in their dough conditioner blend. Check the label carefully. Sara Lee has reformulated some of their varieties, and ingredients vary by product line. Always verify by reading the actual ingredient list on your specific product. If you are finding this information valuable, please take a moment to subscribe. I am committed to helping you understand what is really in the foods you eat every day. And what is coming up next is even more important to know. Number 4. King's Hawaiian. King's Hawaiian has exploded in popularity over the past decade. Those soft, sweet rolls have become a staple at barbecues, holidays, and family dinners across America. They taste almost like dessert. And that's exactly the problem. A single King's Hawaiian sweet roll contains 5 grams of sugar. According to USDA nutrition data, that 28-gram roll delivers nearly 20% of its carbohydrates as sugar. Their sliced bread varieties can contain even more sweetener depending on the product. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 36 grams of added sugar per day for men and 25 grams for women. Have 2 rolls and you've consumed about a quarter of your daily sugar limit before the meal even begins. But the sugar content isn't hidden. King's Hawaiian is honest about being sweet bread. What concerns me more is how this sweetness affects eating behavior and blood glucose. Research shows that foods with high sugar content can trigger overconsumption by activating reward centers in the brain. The sweetness of King's Hawaiian bread can override your body's natural satiety signals. You may find yourself eating more than you intended because the sugar creates a pleasurable response that encourages continued consumption. This is particularly concerning for children, who often prefer sweeter foods. Parents trying to make healthy choices might not realize they're essentially serving dessert disguised as dinner rolls. The sugar also creates a blood glucose response that differs significantly from traditional bread. After eating King's Hawaiian, your blood sugar spikes and then crashes, leaving you hungry again sooner than you would be after eating less processed alternatives. King's Hawaiian rolls also contain a list of additives, including sodium stearoyl lactylate, DATEM, sorbitan monostearate, and microcrystalline cellulose. These are dough conditioners and processing aids that help achieve that signature soft texture at industrial scale. The microcrystalline cellulose is particularly interesting. It is essentially refined wood pulp used as a texturizer. It is FDA approved and considered safe, but it is another example of an ingredient you'd never use in home baking appearing in commercial bread. Number 3. Great value from Walmart. When a loaf of bread costs less than $2, you have to ask yourself how that is possible. Great Value is Walmart's store brand, and it is designed for one thing: maximum profit through minimum ingredient cost. The flour used in budget breads like Great Value is typically the lowest cost available. Some varieties contain high fructose corn syrup, an ingredient that has been the subject of considerable research and debate. A study published in Global Public Health found that countries with higher consumption of high fructose corn syrup had 20% higher rates of diabetes compared to countries that do not use it, independent of total sugar intake and obesity levels. Here is what happens when you consume fructose in processed foods. Unlike glucose, which most cells in your body can use for energy, fructose is processed primarily in your liver. When you consume too much, your liver converts the excess to fat. This can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, elevated triglycerides, and increased visceral fat around your organs. Great Value bread contains calcium propionate as a preservative, and calcium propionate has been linked to behavioral issues in some children in controlled studies. It also contains emulsifiers that can contribute small amounts of trans fats, even when the label shows 0 grams. Labeling regulations allow products with less than half a gram of trans fat per serving to round down to 0. Some consumers have reported that Great Value bread does not mold even after extended periods, which has raised questions about preservative levels. While calcium propionate is effective at preventing mold growth, the apparent resistance to decomposition has made some consumers uncomfortable. Traditional bread molds within days. When bread sits for weeks without visible deterioration, it raises legitimate questions about what is keeping it that way. Number 2. Home Pride Butter Top. Home Pride Butter Top wheat bread seems like it should be a reasonable choice. It is wheat bread which many people assume is healthier than white. The word butter in the name suggests real ingredients, and the calorie count is relatively low at 70 calories per slice. But dig into the ingredient list and you will find something concerning. Home Pride Butter. Top contains high fructose corn syrup. This sweetener appears in many processed foods because it is cheaper than sugar and provides certain functional benefits in baking. Research has consistently raised questions about high fructose corn syrup consumption. A study from Princeton found that rats with access to high fructose corn syrup gained 48% more weight than those eating a normal diet, with significant increases in abdominal fat. The researchers found these differences even when the caloric intake between groups was similar, suggesting something unique about how the body processes this particular sweetener. Home Pride also contains multiple preservatives and emulsifiers common to industrial bread. But what bothers me most is the marketing deception. The butter top name suggests this is a quality product made with real butter as a primary ingredient. The wheat designation implies health benefits, yet the product contains high fructose corn syrup and numerous additives. This is not the wholesome wheat bread the packaging suggests. It is industrial bread with marketing designed to make you feel good about your purchase. Number 1, and this may surprise you, any bread containing potassium bromate. I am not calling out a single brand because potassium bromate appears across multiple manufacturers, often in products you would never suspect. This flour improver has been used in American baking since the early 20th century to strengthen dough and allow bread to rise higher. Here is the problem. Potassium bromate is classified as a possible human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. It has been banned in the European Union since 1990, in Canada since 1994, and in numerous other countries including Brazil, China, and India. Yet in the United States, it remains legal. The FDA approved potassium bromate before the Delaney Clause, which bans carcinogenic food additives, went into effect in 1958, so it was essentially grandfathered in. California is the only state that requires warning labels on products containing potassium bromate. In October 2023, California enacted a law banning its use entirely, but that law does not take effect until 2027. The baking industry argues that most potassium bromate converts to harmless potassium bromide during baking, but testing in the United Kingdom found detectable levels of bromate remaining in finished bread. 6 out of 6 unwrapped breads and 7 out of 22 packaged breads tested showed measurable bromate residues. Research published in Environmental Health Perspectives found that potassium bromate is a complete carcinogen with both initiating and promoting activities for tumor development in animal studies. The researchers found it caused kidney tumors, thyroid tumors, and tumors of the lining of the abdomen in rats. The Environmental Working Group has identified potassium bromate in over 200 products on American supermarket shelves, including some from well-known brands. Check your ingredient lists for potassium bromate or for bromated flour. Many manufacturers have voluntarily removed it, but it still appears in some products, particularly regional brands and certain baked goods. King Arthur flour. One of the most respected flour brands in America has never used bromate and explicitly positions itself as bromate-free. If quality flour manufacturers can achieve excellent results without it, why do other companies continue using a possible carcinogen? I know that was a lot to take in. You might be looking at your bread box right now wondering what you are supposed to eat. The good news is there are genuinely better options available. Look for bread with short ingredient lists, ideally fewer than 7 items. Real bread requires only flour, water, yeast, and salt. Anything beyond those 4 basics should make you look more carefully at what you are buying. Sourdough made through traditional fermentation is an excellent choice because the long fermentation process breaks down compounds that can cause digestive issues and reduces the glycemic impact of the bread. The natural acids produced during fermentation also act as preservatives, eliminating the need for chemical additives. Sourdough often feels and digests differently for that reason. Brands like Dave's Killer Bread, Ezekiel bread, and local bakery sourdoughs typically use simpler ingredient lists. Ezekiel bread is particularly interesting because it is made from sprouted grains, which increases nutrient availability and reduces the glycemic response. Yes, these options cost more. A loaf of Dave's Killer Bread might run you $5 or $6 compared to $2 for a budget brand. But you are paying for real ingredients and honest production methods rather than chemical shortcuts. Consider also that if you are eating less because you feel more satisfied, the cost per serving might actually be comparable. You can also make your own bread. A simple no-knead bread requires 5 minutes of active work and costs about $1 per loaf. You control exactly what goes in. No preservatives, no dough conditioners, no hidden sweeteners. There are countless recipes online that require no special equipment beyond a standard oven. Or consider reducing your bread consumption altogether. Many people find that eliminating or reducing processed bread resolves digestive issues they did not even realize were connected to what they were eating. So what do you think? Are any of these brands in your kitchen right now? Have you noticed how you feel after eating certain breads versus others? I would love to know if you have experienced bloating, fatigue, or other symptoms that might be connected to the bread you have been eating. Leave a comment because I genuinely want to hear about your experience. And if this video opened your eyes to something you did not know, share it with someone who needs to see it. Your parents, your friends, anyone who is feeding these brands to their family without knowing what is really inside. Knowledge matters, and the more people understand what is in their food, the more pressure companies will face to provide genuinely healthier options.